In a world where quality business information is needed, we bring you On the Mic with Mike, the leading social enterprise business show in RVA. Join Mike King, the partnership guru, as he delivers game changers in Metro RVA. On the Mic with Mike showcases how business can help make society better. He discusses tech, culture, innovation, best business practices, and highlighting area nonprofits. Join Mike Monday through Friday, because it is the place where the best and brightest come to chat.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to On the Mic with Mike King here, part of the Mike King Biz Media Network, ESPN Richmond 106.1, International Business Coach Radio, as well as the Hounds of Business community. What we do is we showcase RVA, the best and the brightest. We come here to talk about business-ish issues, things that help have an impact on people's lives. You can follow me on the social platforms, which is On the Mic with Mike RVA, as well as Mike King Biz. Alrighty, so I'm out there perusing on LinkedIn. I ran across this lady's profile and talking about it's Columbia Gas, and I'm like, wow. And it really happened because of I was at an event, and you start to see the energy companies are there. Mm-hmm. And so all of a sudden, it's just like, okay, so I see yours, and I'm like, wow. I go to your DMs. Hi, my name is Mike. And it's not just the energy part, it's about your whole bio. So tell folks who you are and what you do.
Thank you, Mike. So first of all, thank you so much for having me on the show. I'm really excited to talk to you. I'll talk a little bit about my background, but I really want to talk about what it is that Columbia Gas of Virginia is doing to help youth in the community around workforce development. So I'll get to that later. A little bit about me. So I have spent my entire career in the energy industry. I was born and raised in Chicago. I went to college at Stanford, and I started working for BP Amoco. I worked for them for 19 years.
Can I stop you real quickly?
Sure.
What was it about Stanford that drew you there, and what was it about energy?
So Stanford, I wanted to go there. At that point, it was the number one ranked school in the country. I got into all the schools I applied to except for one, and that one was the furthest away from home. And it was in California, and I just wanted to go and experience it. And they gave me the most money. That actually was the number one thing. They gave me a terrific scholarship, and they gave me the most money. So again, that's why I went there.
Okay, and people always hear about the aura, the magic of Stanford. Mm-hmm. What is it about that place?
Oh, it really was just a terrific place to be. I mean, we used to call it sort of Disneyland. But I will say, academically, the professors I worked with, and I double majored. I did quantitative economics and feminist studies. They're not connected.
Okay, so I was ready to say, okay, now those two definitely go together.
I started off, Mike, as an engineer. And I was interning with Amoco because they actually gave me, I was a National Merit Scholar, and they gave me my scholarship to go to school. And so I was interning with them every summer, and I sat with the engineers, and I just didn't like what they did. And so I called my mom, and I was like, I'm gonna drop engineering. And she was like, okay, what are you gonna do instead? My mom was a school teacher.
I can imagine.
My dad worked for the federal government. And I said, I'm gonna just do feminist studies. And she was like, okay, what kind of job are you gonna get? And I said, I'm gonna work in a bookstore. And
I understand.
I have black parents. And
yeah, today we ain't playing that.
They were like, we are not sending you to college for you to work in a bookstore.
It's my son right there. You know what? When he graduated from college, he's trying to take the degree. We're like, no, we're taking a big one.
Yes.
You can have that little thing to hang on your keychain.
Absolutely.
But no, we
have the big degree.
Yes, we're taking that.
Yes. And so mom was not playing that. So mom was like, you're not working in a bookstore. She says, I need you to, talk to some counselors, talk to you, whatever. And I called my mentor at my job at Amoco, and I said, I'm not really enjoying this engineering stuff. He said, well, look at other stuff. Look at business. Look at economics. Look at whatever. And that's what I did. So I did quantitative economics, but I still was able to minor.
What was it about the feminist studies that drew your interest, even early on?
It was just so interesting to me in terms of well, as you know, women haven't had the same rights, haven't had the same pay.
I saw that 68 cents on the dollar.
68 cents on the dollar.
That's crazy. And
then also now you can see some of women's rights are being eroded away in terms of aspects with their own bodies. So it was just always very interesting to me. And that it was a multi-subject. So we focused on, instead of a linguistics course, it would be the linguistics of women. Instead of a economics class, it would be work pay parity in terms of women. So that's what was interesting to me.
Gotcha. Okay.
So anyway, so I did that, graduated, worked for Amoco, and again, they're 19 years. BP purchased them, but I had roles ranging from sales, mergers and acquisitions, strategy, supply chain. I ran the credit card group for a bit, and I moved around. I even lived in London, so that was
What
terrific.
did you learn about the way that Amoco BP operated it? You're like, that was something that it made sense, it was beneficial to you.
I think working for a big multinational oil company, you learn discipline. You learn the ability to be adaptable because you typically move jobs every 18 months to 3 years. You learn structure, you learn teamwork, and you really learn leadership. So those are some of the foundational things that I learned.
And in big places like that, you hear about being a mentor and mentees. So when you got there, you had somebody who took an interest in you, saying,
I did.
And guide you, and now you come along and you start pulling the other person with you.
That's exactly right. So I had a mentor, actually the gentleman who told me, don't drop out, even though you don't want to do engineering, he was a mentor. Bill Harper was a mentor for me for a long time. And then I had other mentors there. Steve Welch. I had a number of mentors there. And I had mentors ranging from white men mentors to black women. So all different kinds of mentors. And that's actually something that I think important for young people to
They
realize.
give you something different.
That's correct.
Different perspective.
You hear different perspectives. So a black woman mentor who I had, her name was Ava Youngblood. She was the one who said, it's time for you to go back to school. I need you to go back to business school. I was like, really? She was like, yep, you need to go get your MBA. So I would hear different things from different people. And the important thing about being a good mentee is I would listen to feedback. Because sometimes now being on the other end of being a mentor, and I mentor a number of young people, sometimes young people don't listen. They won't listen to feedback. So,
what is it about when you see the person to mentor? What is it that you see in them that's like, that one has it? Or is it when people come to you and say, what happens when a person comes to you and say, hey, will you mentor me?
I typically almost always accept mentorships. There's a difference between mentorship and sponsorship, though. But what I look for in good mentees is people who are hungry, people who are curious, people, this is going to sound crazy, but people who are like nice, good people.
I hear you.
So,
yes.
Just somebody who has a good heart. But just, again, somebody who has a little bit of hustle, right, is willing to sort of put in that elbow grease and do the work.
Okay. You come to Richmond how long ago?
I moved to Richmond a year ago. So, again, I did Amoco. Then I worked 8 years for ComEd, which is a local utility in Chicago. Then I went to NiSource. Parent company is in Maryville, Indiana. So I was in NIPSCO. Then I was chief customer officer for NiSource. And then I moved. Then they basically requested me to move here a year ago. So
how many minority black women are there in the engine, I guess, in the energy space?
I will say African American people overall, there are a decent number. Actually,
really?
So NiSource, my company, the CEO is African American. There are 3 African American CEOs in the energy industry. So Lloyd Yates is my CEO, my boss. Calvin Butler is at Exelon, which is in Chicago, D.C., they've got Philadelphia and one other, Atlantic City, I think. So he's the CEO. And then Chris Womack is the CEO of the Southern Company. That's the biggest one. And they're based out of Atlanta. And they've got... And then my boss, the head of the NiSource Utilities, Melody Birmingham, is also a black woman. So I'd say that there are a fair number. I mean, it is not representative of the population, but I will say in terms of senior leadership, African Americans, the utility industry and the energy industry does really well.
Explain to a person why the utility industry is good for a person to go into opportunity-wise. And we're going to slide right into workforce development because that's what you guys' thing is.
Yeah. So I will say there are a lot of different leadership opportunities available. The pay is very good. And you have the opportunity to work across a number of different kinds of roles. So I literally, since I started my career, Mike, I haven't had a job for longer than 3 years. And it's not because I didn't know how to do my job. It was that they wanted to develop me, move me into other opportunities. So it has been really fascinating, the experience that I've gotten.
Is that sort of when a person goes into a large organization? Jennifer's here with this Columbia Gas, talking workforce development, career, life, everything in between. Mm-hmm. Is that when a person puts you on like a management fast track that person puts you, okay, they've identified you as one of the best and the brightest and the one who's going to be a real asset to the organization. Next thing you know, they start moving from place to place. And each place, the level of responsibility and authority goes up.
Yes, so I've had situations where I have been put on high potential programs, high potential training programs, and been moved around the system. So that's happened for me a lot in my career. There have also been times in my career where I have plateaued, and I've been like, okay, I'm not moving, I'm not making it to the next level, and that's when I've made a decision. Okay, it's time for me to look at moving somewhere else. So I've had both of those experiences.
Alrighty, so you get to Richmond. Talk a little bit about what people think and know about Columbia Gas, and then the real reason why we're here to talk about that part of it.
Okay, so I'm President and Chief Operating Officer of Columbia Gas of Virginia. We span really all the way from Northern Virginia down to Central Virginia to the Shenandoah Valley, all the way down in the Tidewater area. So we've got about 290,000 customers overall. A lot of, we have residential for sure, but we have a lot of industrial customers. And we're about 98 counties. I think what people don't understand about Columbia Gas is, from a gas standpoint, natural gas is, we try to deliver safe, affordable, reliable natural gas so you can, cook and take showers and heat your homes and all those good things. The thing I think people don't understand, though, is they don't really think about the utilities.
We don't.
And they don't think about it as some place where they can have a career.
No, we don't.
And I will say, and this is why I really want to talk about this work diverse development program, again, such a great opportunity for us to recruit younger people. We have an aging workforce. I want young people, especially young people who look like you and I, to know that Columbia Gas of Virginia is a great place to work. You can, be paid well. You can raise a family. You can afford to get a house.
You can see the world.
With a utility, you're typically in a certain geographic area. If you work for a big multinational oil company like BP,
but it brings you into an opportunity of growth.
Correct.
You can, and a lot of times people look at growth in a different way now than we used to, because our options are a lot bigger. Mm-hmm. People know a lot of things now that we didn't know in the past. So you go to Columbia Gas, it opens the doors for you for opportunities, and that is the part for workforce development. Why is it so important for Columbia Gas to engage and tap into that area?
So one thing that I wanted to talk to you about today is we have we're looking at workforce development across a couple different tranches, and one area that we're really proud of is our Youth Ambassador Program. And that is for high school students. We just have our inaugural year that we launched it. They are students who are in Petersburg and Hopewell area. But I really wanted to do this because if you ask like at my church, you ask some of the young people, like, what do they want to do when they grow up? They say, I want to be a TikTok influencer. Yeah. Or they don't even think about, or I want to play, in the NFL, or I want to, play in the NBA. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with doing those things, but working in an energy company, again, you can make a really good living.
Ma'am, there are 90 things on the list, and I'm kind of saying I'm not sure that working in an energy company is anywhere of the 90.
That's right.
But until somebody showed up and told me, or they send me to a program, and my parents are like, oh, wow, okay, that works. Next thing you know, I'm exposed to that. Oh, as far as a TikTok influencer, a friend of mine says, how do you become an influencer? You tell people you're an influencer.
Yeah, that's probably
that is
the
it.
Case. Yes.
But now, I'm not sure if that's something you can hang your hat on as a career. I'm not an expert.
Right.
But
right.
Mom and Daddy say you need to go somewhere and get some education.
That's right.
And that one may be the trick.
That's right. Well, and the thing also about the energy industry and working at Columbia Gas of Virginia is, some kids want to go to college. Some kids don't. Mm-hmm. And so it is a viable career option if you're not interested in going to college. As a matter of fact, people who are going through, I just earlier this week spoke at the new hire training class. Those kids are making $40 an hour. 19 to 21-year-olds. Right. And so, but they have to know about the program. So that's why we're doing this Youth Ambassador Program, right? We're telling them they have a curriculum. They have in the energy industry, we're talking about sort of the natural gas 101. We're talking about what regulatory is 101, because we have to, file rate cases. You have to know about regulatory. We talk to them about energy efficiency and how to save money on their bills, energy assistance. I did a whole panel with them. I was talking about sustainability and renewable natural gas and how we're looking at hydrogen in the future. So they're learning about all these different kinds of things. We have this sort of robust curriculum that we're developing. They learn about cyber. They learn about how to have a good interview. They learn about customer programs. So they're learning about all these things, and we're paying them $15 an hour. They're working 20 hours a week. And then at the end of the summer, they'll actually go to community events, or they'll go to their local church or, community organization, and they'll talk a little bit about some of the things they learned and some offerings. So that's sort of how we've set it up. But I'm really trying to put that spark in them of, hey, when I graduate, I might want to work here.
There is something, a company has to be intentional for that to happen. Those type of programs don't just, you have to be intentional about making that happen. Why is that so important at Columbia Gas of Virginia for you guys to make that type of commitment?
I think because we want our workforce to represent the communities where we live and serve. We're part of the community. We live in the community, right? Our gas workers are out there. So we want to, have that continue. Like I said, we have an aging workforce, and we want to make sure that we're training people. And we also, we just think it's, critically important. I will say personally, I also, because I interned, and I was in college, but I interned every summer, and that's how I got my hook into the energy industry. And so I want to be able to provide young, if you allow young people to experience something, and then they might go, oh, actually, this isn't, old boring. It's actually pretty interesting. Then they might want to do it further on.
When I talked to Ed Bain over at Dominion Energy, I talked about, they have that commercial where the weather's really bad and the kid comes in, is Mom here? And it shows Dad going out when everyone else is coming home. It showed the personal side of an employee, a person who's going out and doing that. What you guys are doing is putting a personal slant, a picture on Columbia Gas of Virginia. You can come here. Younger people a lot of times don't know what they don't know. They don't know what they're going to be. And then all of a sudden a program comes. Like you said, how do you get your foot in the door? There's an internship. So what you guys are doing is amazing. How can people get information about the programs that you guys offer?
Well, so our website is columbiagasva.com. But the summer ambassador program, again, this was our first youth ambassador program that we put in place. Now, for the summer internships, for people who are in college or in community college, we are actually going out and recruiting. So we actually spent some time, we're working with Brightpoint, and we're also working with Virginia State University. So we've gone to a couple of job fairs. And when we have those internships postings, we put them up on the website so people can know and they can apply. This summer, we have 3 summer internships, and I believe we've got one from VSU, one from JMU, and one from Virginia Tech, I believe. So again, we're, as a company, Columbia Gas of Virginia, we only have about 500 employees, but we are trying.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So NiSource overall, we have about 7,500 employees because we're across 6 states. Right, so we're Indiana, Pennsylvania, Kentucky, Ohio, Maryland, and Virginia. But Virginia, because of the size, we're about 290,000 customers. So we only have about 500 employees.
It's funny when you think that it's a lot bigger from a corporate standpoint.
Because it's such a big footprint. We covered like 22,000 square miles. So it's a big footprint. But yeah, we don't have.
Okay, what's another initiative? What's next for Columbia Gas that you guys would like to let people know about?
So I talked about how we are sort of partnering with high school students, and then I talked about how we're sort of partnering with college students to try to get some of them in to learn about it. And we also are working with, I don't want to call them babies, but the middle school students.
Really?
So there is a program that is run through the city of Richmond, I believe, called Mission Tomorrow.
Yes.
And so, yes. So
we were out there,
Oh, were you?
That's a madhouse out there.
It is a madhouse.
That is a madhouse.
But we volunteered last year. This year we're going to have a booth. I went to it and I was like, why are we not here? So we're going to have a booth. We're going to try to sort of start talking to the younger people. Again, just to sort of spur that interest. And again, nothing wrong with being a TikTok influencer, but we want them to know that you can, it pays well. It's another way to finance some of your needs, right? You could start working and then you could get, your job to pay for some of schooling. So it's, there are other kinds of things. And then we also think in the energy industry, compared to other industries, it allows for higher and better career advancement. So we just want young people to know that.
That the opportunities are there. Alrighty, ma'am. You are an author as well, correct?
I am not an author.
You're not an author?
No. Although, you know what? Maybe you're speaking that into existence, because I do love to write, and I've been thinking about
But you're a writer.
that. I enjoy writing.
You enjoy writing?
Yes, but I would not call myself, I have not written a book or anything.
Do you
yet,
go back
but I'm
and
working
read
on
what you've written?
it. I probably should. When I was, but I don't. I've write like articles and things like that. But I'm toying with the idea.
I've seen you published.
Yeah,
you're published.
I'm toying with the idea of writing something about the energy industry, maybe black people in the industry. I don't know. So again, you're prophesying over here.
Well, let's go back. One of the things I would talk about, and you touched on it, I came from the political side.
Okay.
I did, and so I was on conservative radio for some years.
Nice.
I wanted to be the liberal Rush Limbaugh.
Okay.
But it didn't work. I didn't have the energy to continue that fight on conservative radio every day.
Okay.
So I would talk a little bit about where you are, the feminist side. That's one that really, it's interesting. Because, like you said, this is a business show, so we're taking a business topic, and how are we looking at it from a woman's standpoint?
Yes.
Talk a little bit about that right there, and really women in the energy industry as well.
Well, I really want to empower women and young girls. I used to be on the board of the Girl Scouts. I just recently joined the board of the YWCA. But I really want women, first of all, to have, equal pay. And again, many industries, we don't. But I also want women to have more leadership opportunities available. There is a perception that many women aren't ambitious, don't want leadership opportunities, and they think, I shouldn't say they, people think that women don't want those things because we either, are going to take care of the family, or we just are just not as ambitious as men. But those are myths that are often not true. Women also often don't have as many mentors and sponsors. And you kind of know the difference between mentors and sponsors, right?
Hit on it for people, because people need to know. Hold on a second, ladies and gentlemen. Jennifer dropping some nuggets. Hold up. Here we go. We spare no expenses around here. No, we do. But our budget said this had to come from the Five and Below store. That's where I went to my granddaughter. Explain the difference between the two.
Okay, so a mentor is someone who gives you advice, talks to you, shares information with you. A sponsor is someone who talks about you when you're not in the room. So a mentor talks to you face to face in the room. A sponsor talks about you when you're not in the room and makes opportunities available for you.
Some people call it a champion.
It could be called a champion, but it's somebody who basically would say, you know what, Mike, I know that he delivered on this project, and now I really want to, we have this special project coming up. It'll give him a lot of visibility to the board, and I want to consider him for a director position. So I want to put him in this special opportunity. We need to put him in this special opportunity to give him that. Or you know what? He's delivered. He's done all of these things. I think he's worthy to promote to a VP. I'm talking about you. You don't even know that I'm talking about you, but I'm sponsoring you. Women often will be over-mentored and under-sponsored.
Ooh.
So women often will have all kinds of people give them advice, tell them, you need to have more confidence. You need to be able to speak up when you're in the room. You need to whatever, but not people who are actually speaking up for them, championing them, sponsoring them in the room. And that is really, Mike, what's critical to get to the executive levels. You have to have a sponsor who's willing to say, I can do that. And the sponsor is actually tying their success to you. So that is a thing. I think women often struggle in that area. And as a woman executive, that's one thing that I'm passionate about and trying to do. But I'm also trying to coach women around confidence, around how they show up. So all of those things.
It is something. So a small town, you got to know the players. People have to know who you are, what church you go to, your grandmama, and all those things. You need somebody to open the door for you, and that's the way Richmond was. It took me 5 years before all of a sudden people started saying, hey, Mike King, and doors open. Because you get the right person to open the door, like my dad said, I don't care who you know. It's who knows you.
That's right.
And they can take you into rooms where you're not even in. You're not in those rooms. And so what happens is, a person, like you said, women have a ton of sponsors. You know what I always say?
A ton of mentors.
A ton of mentors, not sponsors.
That's right.
Because I tell people, one of the great equalizer was COVID. Women really lost out when, they were on the treadmill going and going, and then they stepped off to take care of families and all those things. COVID sent everybody home. Everybody got sent home and put on timeout, and you had to prove your worth. And then all of a sudden, people started, they weren't used to proving their worth. They were used to certain things happening for them just because of certain circumstances. Now, all of a sudden, everybody had the same game plan. How are you going to work from home? Everybody had to deal with their mental issues. And it wasn't just, women were, when she's a woman, we're going to give her a break, or she's not get that opportunities. If you tell a man, we get this opportunity and you need to have 10 of these boxes checked. If a man is a good 4, I'm checking it. I'm upset when I didn't get the position.
That's right.
A woman gonna need all 10 boxes, and she's still gonna be
like.
And
she still won't think that she's
well,
eligible.
I don't know. Right, and so there's certain groups around town. Shout out to Angela Patton and Girls for a Change out there making a difference. Her line is getting black girls ready for the world and getting the world ready for black girls.
Oh, okay.
She is.
I need to meet her.
Oh, you got to meet Angela Patton.
Okay.
And so she is intentional on that right there. Richmond is a town that is ready. It is on fire. From a business standpoint, and not just from a business standpoint, from a business standpoint where business is helping community. People hit you guys all the time. Can you help? Can you help? You can only help so much.
That's right.
But then when you put policies in place, you're able to put a program here and there. And shout out to Petersburg and the Tri-Cities. Everybody always dogs them down there. Hey, shout out to the mayor. Mr. Mayor, I'm coming back down there in the next couple weeks because, all right, so on the mic,
I go to church in Petersburg, too.
Really?
I do. I go to First Baptist Church. The pastor is Jeremiah Tillman, so it is in Petersburg.
So here, ladies and gentlemen who know my program, that is called a church shout-out. So a couple months ago, I was down on Belt Boulevard, and I met, and a friend has a nonprofit that deals with veterans and homelessness, and he says to me that, I come from a long line of preachers. Like my sister's a preacher, my cousin, the Army got me.
Okay.
And
I sing in the choir, too.
Oh, see, I can't do either one of them. I met his mom in the Army 43 years ago. So we've been everywhere. So he says the Mormons came to my nonprofit and they gave us money and equipment. I'm like, all right, that's cool. 2 weeks later, the Friends of the Chesterfield Library were here. And they brought the director, and he's talking, and he says, well, at my church, I'm like, excuse me, sir, can't do that here.
Oh, no.
He says, what?
Did I make a mistake?
Yes. No. So he says to me, what, we can't talk about church? I'm like, no, sir, if you come here, you got to give a church shout-out.
Oh.
And he looks at me. Man doesn't, do you know what he says, no, I don't know. So I said to him, it's where you talk about your church, you name your pastor, maybe the first lady, this is what we do. He still doesn't get it. All right, so what church do you go to? He says, I go to the Church of the Latter-day Saints. I'm a Mormon. Lord have mercy. Now I got to explain a church shout-out to a Mormon. This is going to be something. And so I'm like, you are here today. 2 weeks ago, I was in a nonprofit that said the Mormons gave money to us and they helped us and supported us. 2 weeks later, you're standing in my studio. That's not by chance. It is not by chance. So then I let that go. And a friend of mine over at this group called a Friendship Circle. So they had an event and they had fans.
Okay.
They had church fans. So I said to the lady, and it's a Jewish organization, but it's open to everyone. So I said, oh, you guys got church fans. She's looking at me like, what's that? So I point to her, it's like a church fan. And she's like, Mike, I don't know
what a church is.
Okay, so here, the studio is split. There's about 8 people in here. 4 of them are black, 4 of them are white, and a couple of Jewish folks in here in the mix. So I said to him, it's when, you're sitting in church and you're fanning. I said, everybody knows who sponsors a church fan. It's
usually a funeral home.
And I said to them, and everybody says it's a funeral home. So I'm like, who knows what a church fan is? The black people are like this, hold their hand up.
That's right.
The white people are like, so clearly it's a cultural thing right here. And everybody knows that the funeral home is the sponsor of the church fan. I didn't invent it. I'm just passing it along. So a friend of mine, ours, writes in and says, oh, you know what? We're going to call it a shul fan. I mean, oh, y'all be hot up in the synagogue too? So you know what? The fan does it. What we do is we give a shout out to your organization. So when people come in here, you want to give a shout out to your church? There you go, sir. And that is the cool part, because people get nervous. But, oh, what, I can't do that?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
No, we
Shout out to First Baptist Church.
shout out to okay.